So a warm welcome, Keith Cunningham, to the Nordic Business Forum. It is an absolute pleasure and honor to have you here.
It is our honor to be here. We've had the opportunity to travel all over the world and speak, and I will say that the job that the Nordic Business Forum did, not only in terms of promoting this event, how they've treated me as their guest, how they've treated and the education that they provided to the 5,500 people who were here. This is truly first class. It is the best I've ever seen, and I've been doing this for 20 years.
I will definitely refer that on to the organizers. Thank you for that.
Very, very nicely done.
And I also know from having, tons of sound bites with audiences and attendees, they're all, flabbergasted that there are so many world-class leaders on stage. And we're talking about, high-profile business people, CEOs and entrepreneurs, and that's also the whole incentive of the business forum, having people like yourself sharing your knowledge and experience. And I mean, you had your speech on stage with strategy growth and the drivers of performance, which was empowering and engaging. And in that speech, you talk a lot about intention and passion. I'm thinking, what is your key summary on the word success, and what are the key components to actually building a sustainable and successful business?
Well, you just asked me about 7 questions in there. Look, on the idea of what does it take to be successful, I think there's 4 questions that all business owners need to ask. The 4 questions are: who do I want? Who's my target? Who do I want to target as a possible customer? You look at who's at the Nordic Business Forum conference. It's not everybody in the Scandinavia countries. In fact, the bulk of the people in Scandinavia weren't even aware that this conference is happening. Instead, Hans Petter and the team said, we want to target people who are either in business or who want to be in business, who are committed to our growth, who are committed to learning. Because there's lots of business owners who are not committed to learning. They're committed to doing what they've always done, which means in a very short period of time, those business owners will be obsolete. So I think question number 1 is, who do I want as a customer? Question number 2 is, what's got to happen to cause them to buy? I think question number 3 is, what's got to happen to keep them coming back? And that was really the bulk of what I talked about today. Was I think business owners make the mistake of chasing the new customer instead of allocating some amount of resources to keeping the customer they got. You can do both, but I think if you ignore the customer you have, they're going to leave you. And so I don't know how to optimize the growth of a business without doing both, keeping the customer you got, and let's look for a new one. So question number 3 is, what has to happen to keep them coming back? And I think the 4th question that needs to be asked in order to create a successful business is, what could happen to cause customers not to buy? And I think we rarely ask that question. I think one of the keys to business success is to make fewer assumptions about what you think you know. I've made the mistake. I'm still making this mistake of confusing the narrative with the facts. I create a story around something, and that story then becomes the truth to me. And the reality is, it's not the truth, it's a story. And so I happen to believe that one of the keys to being successful in business is getting clarity with what is. Right? And I talked about that today. I call it the is line. What is reality? And most of us don't do that good a job of being truthful about reality. And then, what is it that I want? and that difference between where I am and what I want, there's some sort of obstacle or problem that's in the way. So the key to me to success is figuring out what's the obstacle that's preventing me from getting from here to there. And if I can figure out the true obstacle that's preventing me from getting from here to there, and then I build a machine that allows me to get from here to there, I'll get there. I think there's a big difference between success and fulfillment. Those are two different things. I think success is getting what you want, and fulfillment is giving what you got. And a huge part of the teaching that I'm doing is the giving part. So we own businesses, and those businesses, and I've been in business for over 40 years, and I'm still in business. The businesses that we have provide success. The teaching that I do is what provides fulfillment. That's really, to me, where passion comes from. Passion rarely comes from success. I think the mother of passion is two things. It is growth and it's contribution. And every time we're growing and every time we are contributing, we tend to be passionate. And every time we're in a maintenance mode or we're in a decline, we tend to lose our passion. So you can think of things right now that you used to be passionate about, but you're no longer passionate about those things. Chances are those things have been ejected from your life because whatever those things were things that either went into maintenance or they went into decline. And so I happen to think that this idea of passion is a very important topic, but I happen to think that my likelihood of creating passion goes up if I'm in a mode of pursuing mastery. And the real subject to me is mastery. How do I go about being the best that I can be? I had a teacher about 25 years ago said probably the most important thing that's ever been said to me. And I think about it every day. Every day I think about this. And what the teacher said to me is this: Keith, hell on earth would be to meet the man you could have been. I think that's an exceptionally powerful and profound statement. Who is it that I'm capable of becoming? And that's what causes passion. That's what causes contribution. What am I capable of? I want to be able to meet the man I could have been, look that guy in the eyeball and say, I know you because I am you.
That's interesting because I know that you work with Tony Robbins, and I've been to a few of his seminars, and it sort of brings me back to the memory of when you meet your inner child, because that's also the inner child that you want to feel secure and you want to grow and have a growth strategy for and find your best potential. So it sort of intertwines that thought. But I'm so glad that also this conference and all of you speakers, you really touch a lot upon the fact of contribution, empathy, being a passionate leader, and sort of the conversion of success, not just being money and power, and the transition to that. How do you find that the business landscape has changed during, let's say, the last decade?
Oh my gosh. I think outwardly, I think, with just technology, things have changed dramatically. And I will tell you, not always for the better. I think a lot of businesses are relying on technology to be a substitute for interaction, for communication, for engagement. Not only engagement with customers, but probably more importantly, engagement with employees. I think one of the biggest mistakes that leaders can make is not understanding the importance of having an A team in an A culture. An A team, A players. A players have a high internal emotional need to succeed. They don't need to be motivated. They show up and they're excited and they want to do the right thing at the right time and deliver the right outcomes. And then they're in the appropriate culture. And candidly, I think you can make a lot of money in today's environment by emphasizing the culture of an organization, by emphasizing the importance of engagement with not only your customers, but also your employees. That most businesses are vulnerable to a competitive threat, and the competitive threat that will undermine your competition is not a better, faster, cheaper, stronger product. That's not it. I think it is providing a level of engagement with the customer and with employees that causes people to feel important, that causes people to feel significant, that causes them to feel like they got their money's worth. It's that level of engagement that I think is the biggest competitive advantage that most of us could have.
And it's interesting that you say that, because I know one of the other speakers, Simon Sinek,
Smart guy.
Yeah, and he also talked about, you have high performance leaders, but if they have low trust among their employees or among their customers, then they're not going to be a sustainable business leader.
Game over.
Exactly.
Game over. Mm-hmm. And candidly, most businesses fail because of that very reason. Check this out. Disinterested employees deliver disinterested service.
So true.
I happen to think that it's impossible to deliver exceptional performance without exceptions. Exceptions are required for exceptional customer service. When I want exceptional customer service, I look for people to make exceptions to accommodate me. I don't want to have to accommodate the company that's selling me the product. It's my money. I want them to accommodate me. I want the people that I buy products and services from, I want them to do something for me that nobody else can do. And one of the things that I think is a huge competitive advantage is when we as business owners and leaders emphasize the importance of the culture and emphasize the importance of how we treat our customers. So you asked the question a minute ago, how have things changed in the last 10 years? I think dramatically, not always for the better. And I think what it's done is opened a huge chasm in which a business can become astronomically successful. This chasm that's been created is a result of the emphasis on technology instead of relationship. It is what is missing is a level of engagement and relationship with customers. And I think businesses that want to grow, if they would amp the level of engagement, what they'll see is their sales and profits soar.
And my next question that just came to mind, and you sort of answered it a bit, but if we have up and coming and rising entrepreneurs looking at this, and you want, what advice would you give them to sort of take in mind when they look at becoming a business leader?
When they're thinking about, when people think about being in business, I think the key is to find the gap between what the competition is doing and where customers are frustrated. If you can find a group of frustrated customers, you can do very, very well. I'll say that a different way. I think it's a 3-part formula for success. I think success is about finding out what they want. Find out what they want, go and get it, give it to them. That's how hard it is. Unfortunately, we start with number 2. As business owners, we're standing in the shower. We have an entrepreneurial seizure. We have this great idea. We jump out of the shower, we go tell our friends and family about how our great idea, and everybody looks at us and says, "Oh, Keith, we love you. You're so smart." And that's the amount of social proof that we need. We think that's all the social proof we need in order to go start a business. When in reality, what my friends and family think about my good idea has nothing to do with whether or not that good idea will get traction. I think what's required is find out what the customers want. Find out where they're in pain. And our job as business owners is to become pain relievers. Let me help you get out of pain. Let me solve your frustration. Let me help you find the gain that you're wanting to get. And if I can do that, then I have a possibility for building a successful business. But then I got to somehow describe to you why you should choose me and not the other guy. What's the difference that makes the difference? And if you can't describe the difference that makes the difference, it makes it very difficult for people to discriminate in your favor. At the end of the day, that's what marketing is. Marketing is giving a customer a reason to discriminate in my favor. And if I do my marketing effectively, I'll wind up with more customers. None of that addressed what I heard at the very end of your question a minute ago, which was around leadership. And I think that's a very interesting distinction. I think that you can create a business that's attractive, a solution that's attractive to customers, and be ineffective as a leader and go broke. I think you can have an average product, but if you have great leadership around that product, I think you can do very, very well financially. I look at businesses that go broke, and more often than not, I see ineffective leaders. I also see leaders that don't have all of the requisite skills and tools that are required to win a gold medal in business. But I also find people that are more interested in success than they are in serving. You know, the businesses that I see that do very, very well have mastered the art of serving their customers. It's not about me, it's about them. It's not about me and my bank account, it's about the customer. How do I help you? And if I can sort that out, that's really what leadership is. If I can sort out how I can help you, now I have an opportunity to be successful.
No, that's so true. And I have one more question with regards to personal growth, or a growth strategy, more as opposed to personal growth. With all your experience and knowledge and so many years in the business, how do you work on your own sort of growth strategy?
You know, I am a big reader. I have for a long, long time, over 25 or 30 years, read, a book or two a week. I have thinking time. Thinking time is 1 or 2 times a week that I carve out an hour to sit quietly with a couple of good questions and think on paper. You know, the human mind was designed to create, not retained. So I think if I'm going to think, I need to think on paper. I happen to have some personal growth rituals that I use in my own life in order to support me in the growth that I know that I need to have so that I can achieve the results that I want. I happen to think that I think it was John Maxwell who said, and he's exactly right, that unless I'm willing to personally commit to growth, I will always be an ineffective leader. I think I'm no better leader than where I am personally with my growth. It goes to what I said earlier about hell on earth would be to meet the person you could have been. And I think really it's probably more about mastery to me than it is anything else. Where are the opportunities for me to create mastery in my life, where I have conscious competence and I know how to teach what I know? Now, that the fastest path to mastery is to teach what you learn. And it is remarkable to me how much I've learned since I've started teaching. I continue to get insights. And so, candidly, one of my rituals for personal growth is the opportunity to teach others about what I know. The hardest work I do, by far, is getting clarity on how do I simplify and explain what it is that I know. And so that's a personal growth ritual as well.
Well, thank you so much for sharing your personal growth rituals, because I think it's very important for being a role model for others to sort of see that role models also have their own personal growth strategy, even when they're, at the forefront and being successful, that there also is, the EQ, the emotional intelligence that comes through. And thank you so much for being the inspiration that you are and for spreading your knowledge and empowering all of us business leaders, entrepreneurs and CEOs, and for taking the time to come to the Nordic Business Forum.
You're very kind. It was my pleasure.
Thank you very
so
much.
Thank you.